Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful land of enchantment, which is also known as New Mexico. And today's date, Monday, October 26th, 2015. Yeah, had to do a few alignments on my vehicle and a couple other things. However, I should be heading back down to South Florida as soon as possible, but we'll keep you posted. Yeah, the only thing I'm going to be discussing, believe it or not, is very, I'll say, disturbing, and I have talked about it in one of the segments of my past episode on the Strong Cities Network. And what it really is, I like the slogan that says here, a global network of local authorities united in building resilience to prevent violent extremism. So, it is more of a one world order team effort on violent extremism. But many people that are informed on violent extremism, they're going after individuals like you and I, worldwide, to be exact. It is very touchy because some of the elected servants and appointees have sold their souls to this particular network. I am going to be going through the website, strongcitiesnetwork.org. Talks about the cities that are involved right now, activities, launch, and about us, about them. So I'm going to be taking my time going through here. And I love it when it says here, become a strong city. And here the strong cities will be spearheaded by the International Committee of Cities and Local Authorities selected from different regions around the globe. You got ones from New York, London, Beirut, Aarhus, Atlanta, Rotterdam, Victoria, Stockholm, Copenhagen, Kano, Montreal, Palermo, Mumbai, Denver, Mombasa, Paris, Dakar, Tunis, Medellin, Antalya, Minneapolis, Oslo, and Puno. Those are the cities that are involved within this network. The mayors, police chiefs, and a few others. Just type in the city I addressed, and just look up Social Cities Network. They sold their souls to this program, and the Mayor de Blasio from New York is one of them. And there's one in Denver. The mayor and the police chief bend over for this global entitlement. Anyone that's behind this, not just the United States, but the world, have betrayed your nation. It's called treason. Aid in comforting the enemy. And we'll just look up what treason means in a couple of sites, I would say. And that's how I am observing this. And I like what they say in treason under newworldencyclopedia.org. And it'll give you definition, sedition, and history. And what is treason today? Well, we'll just start the New World Encyclopedia. Give you the you know what? I'm gonna be giving you the what treason means. It says here, in the law, treason is the crime of disloyalty to one's nation. A person who betrays a nation of their citizenship and or renegades on an oath of loyalty and in some way willfully cooperates with an enemy is considered to be a traitor. Traitors' acts include helping a foreign government to overthrow or make war against one state, conspiring by oneself to overthrow the government, and killing a head of state. Similar offense of sedition need not involve acts against the government, but rather is the act of inciting insurrection or rebellion. The punishment for treason varies by nation, though is typically harsh so as to discourage the action. Historically, treason was considered the worst crime and drew the harshest penalties. In England, punishment for treason went beyond the standard execution by hanging, invoking the horrific drawing or quartering. However, the charge of treason was greatly abused by monarchs who used this to remove their opponents. Thus, the United States Constitution restricts the definition of treason and denies Congress the authority to reshape the offense. Today, acts of treason in the traditional sense are less common given in political structure and increasing globalization. Many of those conspiring and acting against authority, particularly terrorists, do not necessarily act against a particular government, but rather against an ideology or for a cause that goes beyond statehood. Thus, some governments have declared an act of treason to include support of organizations deemed a threat, such as Al-Qaeda. Treason has always been viewed as the most serious offense, for it is an act against not only an individual, but against society as a whole, embodied in the ruling authority, whether individually in the monarch or collectively as government. It is indeed the act or attempt to murder one's nation, while harsh penalties have been used in attempts to deter treason. The very reason that such acts are considered the worst of crimes are the same ones that drive people to commit them. While people are dissatisfied with the human society and find no comfort or recognition from its leaders, they will be tempted, even forced to rebel against those that lead their own home, violating the relationship of trust that should exist. The only way that treason and sedition can be eliminated by its emergence of true authority, able to care for all people with a parental heart that embraces and allows each to fulfill their own potential as individuals, freeing value and valued throughout the relationships and contributions to society. Now I'm going to just give you the first paragraph, the definition. It says here, actually, I'm going to do a little skip here. It says here, treason is defined as a betrayal of one's homeland. Some crimes that can be considered treason including murdering the sovereign or a head of state, making war against the state, conspiring with an enemy of the state, or revealing state secrets. Now we'll just hit paragraph 3. It says here, in English law, high treason was punishable by horrific method of execution known as hanging, drawing, and quartering, the only crime which attracted that penalty. In Shakespeare's play, King Lear, around 1600, when the king learned that his daughter Regan had publicly dishonored him, he says, "They could not, I would not, tis worse than murder." A conventional attitude at that time. Today, the punishment for treason varies by jurisdictions, although it's usually a lengthy prison sentence. So it doesn't matter where you live. If your particular country or city you're in is part of this globalized network, your servants or officials, whatever the hell you want to call them, have committed treason based on the research here from NewWorldEncyclopedia.org. And this is really intriguing because this is why a lot of the great individuals out there and people, including myself, are giving folks this heads up. Whether you're in the park, on the job, at a club, a bar, restaurant, etc. People need to pay attention. This is what you have to do and even resist it. Because they don't give a damn about any of us, including your enemies. This is one big apparent motive. When I proceed after the cities, I like what it says here. The Strong City Network aims to connect cities and their other local authorities on an international basis to enhance local level approaches to prevent violent extremism, including facilitating information sharing, mutual learning, and creation of new and innovative local practices. Find out more about the Strong City Network strategic objectives below. So, what do they tell you? Call this the global version, the globalized version of the USA Patriot Act on steroids. Yes. Sharing information, encroaching on national sovereignty, including the United States, state and local jurisdictions, encroachment. James Madison warned about this. In Federalist Papers, I think it's 45 and 46 is one of those areas. Please look it up. He made these warnings on it. And this is what they say about Connect. Facilitate systematic sharing of knowledge, expertise, and lessons learned on building social cohesion and community resilience to prevent violent extremism across cities on an international basis through both regional workshops and international conferences. Excuse me here. See that? Welcome to 1984, my friends. And right here, inform. Raise awareness of existing policy, programming, and practice through a dynamic and searchable online information hub, providing an extensive library of existing local approaches and responses to prevent violent extremism. Empower. Directly support cities to develop strategic frameworks and capabilities to build resilience that safeguard the rights of their local communities, including through capacity building seminars and interactive training modules, themes of mutual interest. Well, it's fishy, right? And they say to build, facilitate international partnerships through a dedicated twinning program established to develop sustained links between two or more cities based on mutual priorities and capacity for learning or co-creation of new projects. Innovative. Directly succeed the development of new and innovative projects through local innovation grants. Where do you get the money from? The World Bank? The IMF? Don't be surprised. Provide support for cities on innovative project development and support for the transfer of promising projects that could be adapted across different locations. Now, what represent? Provide a global platform to enable cities to jointly voice their needs and those of their communities to inform national and international decision-making on preventing the spread and growth of violent extremism. Oh my goodness. All with technology, the fear, Al-Qaeda and ISIS and everything as New World Order, CIA, One World Order funded. This is another thing of their global grand chessboard, my friends. Always got to think about that. The world of big city, underdog. Or we all stand, sing Big Brother in 1984. We'll all cross our hands above our heads with the big X. And we'll just go on down here. Because they already had the global launch, the 29th and 30th of this year. To all those people that want to protest or report. It's going to be in Paris, France, in the spring of 2016, the first annual Strong Cities Summit. Make your plans to go out there. Protest these vultures, parasites, demoniacs. You heard probably for me firsthand. Maybe others are agreeing, doing the same thing. So, hey, plan your trip to Paris if you can do it, folks. I don't know if I want to be around. However, everyone go out there, do your stories. Reporters, podcasters, people got their YouTube, Vimeo, doesn't matter. We got to bombard these bastards. Like I said, they don't care about any of us. They want to see us at each other's throats so they can do this behind our backs. A divide and rule game worldwide. This is why a lot of us have been preaching about the One World Order for a long, long time, even longer than myself. And I have to admit that. I'm still learning the game as well. Always have to examine these, be strategic, and ask you know what would be great too? Ask those presidential candidates, anyone that's running for office, if they're familiar with the Strong Cities Network, if they support it or not. If they do agree on it, start calling them out, call them traitors, call them treasonous quacks, bend over Bobs, Uncle Tom's and your mama's, bend over Bobs, it doesn't matter. All ethical. You got to start ridiculing these people, including the ones that are involved or have sympathy for this apparent organization. And what it says here, and of course, it's interesting about what's going on in Paris. Like what it says, Strong Cities Network will host its first annual summit in cooperation with the city of Paris in spring 2016. The annual summit of the Strong Cities Network represents the largest yearly global conference of cities, municipalities, and other local authorities leading efforts to prevent violent extremism from across the world, covering over 100 local authority representatives from all regions of the world. Annual Strong Cities Summits provide a global forum for city representatives to showcase local projects, participate in local innovation workshop, and network with colleagues from across the globe. To register your interest in participating in the summit, please register to become a strong city. There's a link for that. So if you want to infiltrate, use that link. But even make sure those other cockroaches, even the ones in your local government, state, except doesn't matter. If they go to Paris around the spring, start calling these vultures out. And I urge everyone to petition against this in the state, local, national, etc. And it says here, about us. It says here, what is the Strong City Network? Strong City Network was the first global network of cities and other subnational entities working together to build cohesion and resilience to prevent violent extremism in all in its form. Strong City Network provides a global platform to support local authorities to systematically share lessons learned, pool resources, and build a community that can be mobilized local action on a global scale. Why are the cities important? The risk of violent extremism, also racial, ideological, political, and religious motivations, is a concern for families, communities, and governments. Local authorities, including cities, municipal, and town governments, must work closely with civil society to identify and address the method used by violent extremists to recruit, radicalize, and mobilize targeted individuals. And who was on this terrorist watch list on a the U.S. level? People who are pro-Bill of Rights, Constitution, Ron Paul supporters, libertarians, Tea Partiers, Occupy Fort Lauderdale supporters, anyone, skinheads of all kinds, radical lefts of all kinds, Bible supporters, anyone that's a critical thinker could be on there too as targeted individuals, as violent extremists. A growing number of cities and other subnational authorities across the world have developed or are interested in developing local prevention and intervention programs that build social cohesion and resilience against all forms of violent extremism. Such programs must emphasize two-way local partnerships with the communities built on equality and respect. They must underline a respect for human rights and promote local democratic participation. Oh, global democracy, huh? To do this, cities and other subnational authorities require a network that facilitates systematic exchange of good practices, expertise, and lessons learned. Can we say micromanaging? The people gotta do that, not them. What are the Strong Cities Network objectives? SCN has been created to achieve a focused and rapid exchange of ideas and methods to strengthen the safety, security, and cohesion of communities and cities. Strong Cities Network will connect cities and local authority practitioners through practical workshops, training, seminars, and sustained city partnership. Strong Cities Network member cities will contribute to and benefit from an online information hub of municipal level good practices and web-based training modules, as well as city-to-city exchanges. Strong City Network's member cities will be eligible for grants supporting new innovative pilot projects. So you hear that, folks, right? Grants. So if you can't get it in Washington, we'll get it in Copenhagen, or Geneva, or the World Bank or the IMF. They will take care of us. Please check activities section to find more about Strong City projects. Well, you know what? Let's do that first. Yep, I already did. It's already been done. Head back. Let's go. One of the Strong Cities fundamental principles. Strong Cities Network will operate from the assumption that communities and local governments are both of the solution to address violent extremism. Strong Cities Network will be driven by a number of fundamental principles. A commitment from its members to address violent extremism in all of its forms. Recognition that violent extremism and prevention efforts should not be associated with any particular religion, nationality, or ethnic group. A commitment from its members to work in partnership with local communities on an inclusive, collaborative, and non-discriminatory basis and in compliance with international human rights standards. Yeah, Club of Rome, I say, my friends. Yeah. All right, let's proceed here. How is the Strong Seas Network structured? Strong Seas Network is driven by an international steering committee of 25 cities and all other local authorities selected from different regions across the globe. The steering committee is composed of cities that have demonstrated leadership and commitment to sharing information and expertise through the Strong Seas Network. The International Steering Committee will determine the strategic direction and thematic priorities of the Strong Cities Network. Strong Seas Network will also convene an international advisory board, including existing international and regional associations of cities and local authorities, in addition to a regionally balanced group of non-governmental entities. Strong Seas Network is run by the Institute for Strategic Dialogue, a London-based think and do tank with a long-standing track record of working to prevent violent extremism across all forms. Something like rollerball, I would say, right? Technocracy. What are the Strong Seas Network's next step? Following the official launch of the United Nations in New York on December 29th and 30th of September, the Strong Cities Network will convene the first Strong Cities Annual Summit in cooperation with the City of Paris in spring 2016. Annual summits of the Strong Cities Network represent the large annual global conference of cities and other local authorities leading to prevent violent extremism across the world. Coinciding with the first annual summit, the Strong Cities Network will also launch the Global Online Information Hub, which will contain knowledge based on best practices and lessons learned, as well as training modules and other interactive resources to support local authorities in developing local policies and practices to build social cohesion and resilience to violent extremism. Well. Say Buck Rogers in the 21st century, right? Remember that? All right. Who can join Social Cities Network? Social Cities Network has been established exclusively for local authority representatives and or practitioners operating at city, municipal, or subnational levels. The membership to the network is completely free of charge. If you're interested in joining the Strong Cities Network and becoming a member of the global community of local authority representatives and practitioners to prevent violent extremism in all forms, please register to become a strong city. What's odd about this, because you got some local folks involved and local authorities and all that. And there's always something interesting. I'm going to look up the Logan Act. And what the Logan Act is Chapter 18, U.S. Code, Anointed, Section 953, Section in verse 1948. It is a single federal statute making it a crime for a citizen to confer with foreign governments against the interests of the United States. Specifically, it prohibits citizens from negotiating with other nations on behalf of the United States without authorization. And you know what? I'm gonna add that to the list. And you can learn all about the Logan Act. I'm gonna add that to the memo. Sorry about that, because people need to know all this. And of course, Article 1, Section 9 of the U.S. Constitution talks about that too. Please look it up. So I'm going to add treason to Logan Act to this Strong Cities Network as well. And so, I like when they talk about testimonials, yeah? Almost done here. It says here, I look forward to Harris joining the Strong Seas Network Committee and speaking out about the Harris model here in New York. Although radicalization can result from a variety of different causes and be expressed in various different ways, there are a range of trigger factors that are identical all over the world. That was Jacob Bunsgaard, the mayor of Harris. And we can go right here from the governing mayor of Oslo. Steinberger Roslin said, to counter violent extremism, we need determined action at all levels of governance. To succeed, we must coordinate our efforts and cooperate across borders. Strong Cities Network will enable cities across the globe pool our resources and not acknowledge and best practices together, and thus leave us standing together in the fight against one of the greatest threats to modern society. Yep, that's what the one clown has to say. And of course, in Montreal, Mayor the Honorable Denise Corday. It is a great conviction that Montreal has agreed to join Strong Cities Network founders. This global network is designed to build up a community-based approaches to address violent extremism, promote openness and vigilance, and expand upon local initiatives like Montreal's Mayor's International Observatory on Living Together. I am delighted that through Strong Cities Network, the City of Montreal will more actively share information and best practices with a global network of leaders of critical issues facing our communities. As the governor of Mombasa, H.E. Hassan Ali Joho, and it says here, it gives me great joy to represent the people of Mombasa and to offer a message of hope that we are not alone in the fight against violent extremism, and that together we shall overcome. This initiative allows for issues on violent extremism to be discussed by mitigating through information sharing and city-to-city exchanges. Violent extremism has no place in Mombasa, and I vow to support the Strong Cities Network. And we can go on and on and on. Exactly. So, just something to really think about, my friends. I say it's very concerning. And every single one of you out there needs to really pay attention. It may sound pretty, but the fine print's horrendous. And I would recommend you talk to everyone about this, wherever you live, and go after your so-called political figureheads and tell them to hell with Strong Cities Network. I don't want a global police force in my city or country or village, etc. Because there's a lot of interesting information here about Strong Cities Network. Like I said before, I've addressed it on one of my past episodes from activist posts, which they always do. They always do really good. And so I'm going to be talking about a few people or sites that are really see something here. And right here, NewAmerican.com, Strong Cities Network, Trilateral CFR Rothschild Connection. It came out yesterday. And who actually wrote this? I think it's Alex Newman. I think it is Alex Newman, if I'm correct. Let's find out here. One moment. I don't know. Sorry, it's Joe Wolverturn II, JD. So, yeah, definitely, folks. Definitely, check this out. It says here, Strong Cities Network, Trilateral CFR Rothschild Connections. Despite evidence to the contrary, one commentator recently tried convincing readers that there is no connection between the Department of Justice's Strong Seas Network and the United Nations. First, it should be noted that Strong Seas Network is not a government body at all, writes Patrick Wood of Technocracy.com, but rather a non-governmental organization with no connection to any government or even the United Nations. Wood apparently is projecting his own unfounded hopes on a program that is not only tied to the UN, but is also bound to being the source of the globalist philosophy upon which the scheme is built. As I reported on October 6th, which is a link for that, the Strong Seas Network is a program hatched by the Department of Justice wherein control of local law enforcement is handed over to a London-based think tank called the Institute for Strategic Dialogue. In Europe, ISD has gained a reputation for being committed to the identification and targeting of far-right extremists. Now 4 cities, New York, Atlanta, Denver, and Indianapolis, have become part of the ISD Strong Cities Network. As for organizations' ties to the UN, considered Attorney General Loretta Lynch announcement at the UN, wherein she stated, connecting those localities to one another, as Strong Cities Network is doing, is not only a painful way to lift up our communities worldwide, it also sends a message who we are and what we aspire to be as an alliance of nations and as a global community. It is not any old alliance that's behind the ISD. A quick search of the group's website revealed the identity of its board of trustees, a cadre of internationalists that is second to none. Among the 14 members is found Charles Guthrie, Baron Guthrie of Craigie Bank, a member of the House of Lords, who currently act as a non-executive director of Global Financer, N.M. Rothschild and Sons, and represents the firm interest on the Trilateral Commission. Guthrie also spoke at the 2011 meeting of the Bilderberg Group. He is not only the director of the ISD with an impressive internationalist resume, considered the insider bona fides of ISD board member Dr. Gary Samore. As reported on the ISD website, from 2006 to 2009, Dr. Samore was vice president for studies at the Council of Foreign Relations in New York, where he held the Maurice R. Greenberg Chair and directed the David Rockefeller Studies Program. Before joining CFR, Dr. Samore was Vice President for Global Security and Sustainability at the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation in Chicago. And from 2001 to 2005, he was a Director of Studies and Senior Fellow for Non-Proliferation at the International Institute for Strategic Studies, or IISS, in London. At IISS, he produced 3 strategic dossiers on Iran, 2005, North Korea, 2004, and Iraq, 2002, which are considered authoritative and exemplary assessments of nuclear, biological, chemical, and missile programs in those countries. Remember, there are 4 major metropolises that have handed over control of their law enforcement policy as practice of the Institute for Strategic Dialogue, who turn in is controlled by who's who, the top-tier globalists, One World Government, CFR, Trilateral, Bilderberg, Rothschild power brokers. And it is in various reports the ISD has made clear that the disarmament of civilians, particularly those in the right wing, is the only sure way to safeguard the world. You heard that, folks? Victim disarmament, firearms confiscation. If you study stuff on death by government, people were slaughtered, and one of the things they used was victim disarmament programs. Remember, ever talk about the Holocaust? There are multiple ones in the 20th century alone, as an example. And then we'll continue on here. As is so often the case, the group's identity right-wing extremism with the ownership of guns and ammunition. Yep, right there, my friends. If you are a right-wing extremist with ownership of firearms and ammunition, you are a extremist or a terrorist in the eyes of the ISD. Now that the Justice Department and ISD have handed a significant role in settling law enforcement policy for the largest city in the United States, gun owners should be considered fleeing New York in advance of the enforcement of the following ISD observation. Worryingly, Europol confirms that many members of the extreme right-wing scene have been found in possession of a significant amount of firearms, ammunition, at these extremists have been known to participate in target practice. Remember, the mayors of 4 American cities have subverted their citizens' control over their police in favor of a group of globalist gun grabbers who truly believe that owning guns and ammo, taking target practice, make one an extremist worthy of imprisonment. This move toward international integration of global law enforcement agencies is antithetical to the locally controlled police that are part and of and accountable to the community they serve. The Strong Cities Initiative will prove likely to be another brick in the wall of enmity between police and police people that grows higher with every encounter. Self-serving bureaucrats inside the U.S. government are tirelessly trying to elaborate local police forces answerable to local citizens and promote the consolidation movement as a step toward federalization of law enforcement. These proponents of regional and national police forces desire nothing less than the eradication of all local police departments and sheriff's offices. So the surrender of state and municipal sovereignty and the conversion of local law enforcement officers into federal security agents sworn not to protect and serve their neighbors, but to protect the prerogatives of politicians. Beyond the obvious violations of the Constitution, Strong Cities Network is expanding and represents the most insidious of all concurrent civil disarmament avenues being pursued by the Obama administration. The management of the SCN and ICD provides pretext for the president to claim that he is not trying to take away guns from the American people. He can point to the fact that the elected leaders of these cities are making the decision to participate in the program and that it tied to federal mandate. One can imagine President Obama explaining that New York, Atlanta, Denver, Minneapolis responded to a local problem with a local solution. There was no federal involvement or compulsion to join SCN. He'll insist, in fact, he'll boast in the truest spirit of localized government. These mayors didn't wait for instruction from Washington. Rather, they took charge and changed the situation for the better, making their city safer. The charge is now is to beware. The SCN will continue growing, gaining control of the police in one U.S. city after another, unless citizens across the country demand their leaders to refuse to participate in the program, maintaining the local control of law enforcement. Absolutely correct. 10th Amendment has to stand. And those cities in the United States, like I said before, who are involved and who decide to get involved in these programs are traitors. And they violate the Logan Act as well, but we all know the teleprompting stooge, Barry Soetoro, the bend over Bob to the New World Order himself, is foaming at the mouth because the masters are them, not the people, including the other representatives that are involved. And a good example, Mayor de Blasio, who went on his hands and knees and polished it up for the One World Order. Yep. So there's one thing. You're a man and you'll never be. You're just an example, chump. This is what you have to always pay attention to. Stay focused, stay aware, be aware. Don't get involved in the whole hype and hoopla, the distractions and all that. Like I said, you gotta always keep things in a balance. Don't get involved. If you hear over exploitations, try to just push to the side. Don't get caught in the hype. This right here is another jack-lantern, masquerade, trick-or-treat to tyranny. Then everyone should take the initiative of contacting their local servants, their governments, doesn't matter where you're at. Call these people out, say hell no to this program. Because we can all unite without using these clowns. And the next thing I'm going to be talking is by SOT.net. It's entitled, Strong City Networks Did the UN Just Install a Global Police Force? This came out like last week, I believe. Yeah, some of these like old archives, like old dates. Yeah, it came out October 5th, but you know what? I'll read it to you anyway. Why not? It says here, while the people were in days of reverie following a lunar eclipse and the Pope's U.S. visit, a very important step yet overlooked announcement was made by the Department of Justice. Launch of Strong Cities Network to strengthen community resilience against violent extremism. Rang the bell and usher in a global local initiative to ferret out extremism at a local level. Yes, in the United States. Symbolically, it could also signal a turning point when it comes to local authorities and their treatment of the residents at large. Indeed, it is a global enmeshment that most Americans are either A, in total in the dark, or B, going hysterical over if they've heard about it. Honestly, either of those reactions is understandable when you start digging into the announcement and the sponsors only to find typical convoluted global psychobabbles that signals to the astute that they are about to lose their rights and perceived as domestic terrorists. But can anyone really say sure? Of course not. Not when the message is written by newspeak gibberish. And we proceed. What is the strongest city network and why does some of the U.S. cities join up? On the face of it, SCN, it's strengthening the bond between cities in the U.S. and global cities in the fight against violent extremism. Internationally and at a local level, it will funnel help to local authorities of those cities which hop on board. From the press release, while many cities and local authorities are developing innovative responses to address this challenge, no systematic efforts are in place to share experiences, pool resources, and build a community of cities to inspire local action on a global scale. Technically, SCN doesn't have much to do with the UN, but people think of the UN because its action is global, and the launch was announced on the margins of the UN General Assembly in New York on September 29th by the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Prince Zeid Ra'ad Al Hussein, and New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. To a lot of people that match up that doesn't bode well, the keynote address came from the U.S. General Loretta E. Lynch. All cities are encouraged by them to join up, but the major U.S. cities that are currently a part of it are actually among the founding steering committee. New York, Denver, Atlanta, Minneapolis are among a couple of dozen found cities across the world. They all steer simultaneous actions among cities and authorities and officials, while the SCN tries to portray itself as for the little guy that couldn't be further from the truth. if you really browse around their website. And to cut through the BS language, citizens will have virtually nothing to do with their decision and actions unless they are of high community affluence. So the citizens become the servants. That's what I mean. Just look at the information at the first global summit and see who is intended for and who will speak. SCN's Internation Advisory Board is run up by the Institute for Strategic Dialogue, which has considered itself a leading international think tank. It began as a club of three, started in the mid-90s by Lord Weidenfeld. The Institute's Strategic Dialogue was created in 2006, an umbrella organization, also created an initiative against violent extremism, extreme dialogue, counter-extremism, and European Muslim women of influence. Regular readers to the site probably don't just think in terms of the UN power grab, but the myriad NGOs, institute, think tanks, initiatives, corporate foundations, etc. that seal and bolster global authority. That's what this reeks of. See if you can figure out the actual goals as extracted from the DOJ press release. Garnering partnership of cities in international efforts to build social cohesion and resilience to violent extremism. Using persuasive voices of authorities and communities to challenge violent extremism in all of its forms and manifestations. Capacity building and improvements of collaboration. To counter a range of domestic and global terror threats. To enable cities to learn from one another to develop best practices. Will empower municipal bodies to fill this gap while working with the civil society. Safeguard the rights of local citizens and communities. Determine action at all levels of governance to counter violent extremism. Coordinates our efforts and cooperate across borders. Connect cities, city-level practitioners, and communities. Through a city of workshops, training, and sustained partnerships. Provide an online repository of municipal-level goods and practices and web-based training modules and grants supporting innovative local initiatives and strategies. International Steering Committee of approximately 25 cities and other subnational entities from different regions that will provide the SCN with the strategic direction. Use collective lessons in this international platform for joint innovation. Does this leave you scratching your head as to what is going to happen? It should, unless you know for a fact what a social cohesion and community resilience really means. Their definition of violent extremism isn't even laid out. This launch was made following Leaders Summit on countering ISIL and violent extremism. A better way to counter terrorism will be stop funding it and stop projecting the Western-backed terrorism onto the people as though they are guilty. That's why these actions should be a big concern. Truthfully, the declaration of actions provided by SCN under Club of Three are clear as mud and must undergo the inquiry and scrutiny before you ever recognize their actions as legitimate. Some of the inquiry that might include at why the DOJ is bolstering this global steering committee, while some readers social cohesion are reading social cohesion to mean partnering up with Muslim fanatics under Shahir Law in the U.S., a more likely observation is that this initiative defects from the major unresolved issues of state violence supported by some local law enforcement sectors. If an initiative or the DOJ want to make sure violent extremism doesn't happen in the communities, it will address this systematic issue first instead of funnel more power its way and strengthen it systematically on an international scale. Yep, that's another thing to say, man. Very, very interesting article there. And, yeah, that's a link for that. I'm not going to worry about it. But, yeah, so the whole thing I'm going to be doing, like, I'm going to add, the things I'm going to be adding here, the whole Attorney General Loretta announces the Strong Cities Network announcement, which came out Tuesday, September 29, 2015. You can read it in its entirety. All right, and I got to say, She is one treasonous scum queen. Just an example. And I don't care if you praise this woman, you can tell I said so. So what? And I'm going to add a video here as well about, which is U.S. Attorney General U.S. cities to join UN Korea Police Force, Global Police Force Initiative by Chris Ann Hall. And there's one here from the L8LHWM headlines, which is from blog.livinghisword.org. Even though it's biblical, but it do got some interesting videos in the bottom, so you can check it out yourselves. And always observe responsibly. All right, my friends, that is really it. Thank you for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share this throughout your social media network. If you have any comments, questions, compliments, criticisms, love letters, hate letters, or send me something that could be interesting that I could be talking about. However, always use your comments, whatever it is, with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, which all my footnotes will be on that site. Send your comments to iHeartRadio, YouTube, or you can hit me on World Truth. In addition, if you want to email me, you can contact me at LokiLuck3, which is all together, number 3, all together, at gmail.com. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.